We are looking at another possible deviation for Bitcoin here, where we have fallen below our area of support, but we knew that we had a little bit of headroom that we could fall with until disaster actually strikes. And it seems like Bitcoin has bounced up here, but I'm still not super optimistic by what I'm seeing here. The halving is very quickly approaching as well. This is roughly the date and time of the halving that we are expecting now on NiceHash. I am going to be live streaming right through the halving, regardless of what time of day it hits. Right now, we are looking at 1 a.m. on the 20th of April, UK time, I believe. So that's going to be like late evening LA time, late evening New York and stuff like that. You can do the time zones accordingly. Australians are going to be awake. Go ahead and watch that live stream here on this YouTube channel. If you're interested, make sure you're subscribed and you've got the bell icon checked so that you do not miss it. The reason I haven't fixed the time yet is because this keeps on moving. So when we know closer to the time when the halving is going to happen, that is when I'm going to be live with you all on this channel. But before that happens, let's talk about this price action, because we have now seen a nice recovery to the upside. Bitcoin rising up by 7% within a very short space of time overall, just within 1 day here. And it does still overall put us at the bottom of this range. Now, I still don't think that we're out of the woods here. I still don't think that this is a brilliant situation, and I'll tell you why. It's because of the same things I covered with you in the last video. Again, shout out to those of you that are subscribed to this channel. But the other key thing that I can actually demonstrate to you very clearly now is, again, just how long Bitcoin has spent when it fell down to this particular price range, right? We can see over here that previously when Bitcoin fell down to this area, it was literally just a matter of a couple of hours, if less than that even, and Bitcoin was already recovering quite high up above this area. We actually managed to get up to $64,000 within basically 4 or 5 hours after dropping to this low. And again, if we look at what happened now, 4 or 5 hours after dropping to the low, Bitcoin's only up to about $61,000. So really not that impressive. We are definitely still moving up a lot slower than before, even on this occasion here, because we got to keep in mind from this low to our high that we set, it has literally been basically an entire day of trading. And if we look at what happened before, within less than an entire day for Bitcoin previously, it managed to rise up by 12% up to a high of $68,000. So we're still, regardless of the fact that we've produced a bounce here, we're still seeing weaker bounces coming off this price area. And to me, that still means we're poised for the downside. We also haven't managed to break that local high yet, which is also very important. I was warning you guys about how Bitcoin has unequivocally, without any room for debate, been setting a series of lower highs in this market as time has gone on. And we've punched in a new lower high right here. So unless we're able to recover this fairly quickly and get back above this local high, I think we're going to be in trouble for this market. And we are continuing to set lower highs here, just continuing to show us that we are poised to get back down here. In fact, if anything, I think that we could be looking at capturing a little bit more resistance at these higher price levels. And we can take a look at some of our key indicators to show us that. On the hourly time frame here, nothing particularly huge, but on the 4-hour time frame, look at where we're getting rejected. It's only the exact same place that Bitcoin has gotten rejected the last couple of times, even starting with this wick right here. So Bitcoin clearly struggling when it manages to get up into this 4-hour EMA ribbon here, which is a brilliant display of momentum. And I think that should not come as a surprise. I'm tempted to see what the hourly looks like here. Take a look at this. Slightly shooting above it back here on the 15th of April, but now coming up to today on the 18th, getting rejected off this cloud again, and it's continuing to slide lower and lower. So definitely not a particularly hopeful image for Bitcoin from this particular perspective as well. I think that's also coupled quite nicely with the S&P 500, which was one of the key things we were talking about on the previous live stream video, that I covered with you guys. And we have seen here a continued slide down for the S&P 500. If we go ahead and look at this on the daily candle here, we have now had about 5 days in a row, 6 days in a row, roughly. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm horrible at counting. 5 candles in a row where the S&P 500 has managed to trend down, and we have got Friday's trading session tomorrow to tie all of that up for us. So we saw a very bearish Monday weekly open. That was obviously one of the things that we were looking for, and now we do have that continuation here as well for the rest of the week. So we're only falling into areas of support as we get lower. You guys know that my key area on this chart is going to be this 4,800 area, purely because that was the previous all-time high. And now that we're clearly in a much steeper correction correction than what we usually see. You know, these smaller corrections, like from this high down to this low, is like a 2.5% drop, right? We're not seeing anything bigger than that usually until we trigger these much bigger corrections. This one still has a lot of room to drop down to that key low that I'm looking at the 4,800 area for the S&P 500, and that would probably reflect with Bitcoin continuing to slide lower. So if anything, to me, you know, we are just kind of continuing to consolidate at the bottom of this range before looking at sliding even lower. So that is something I'm going to be keeping an eye out for on this particular market here. I am very, very excited for the halving. There is so much stuff I want to talk to you about with that stuff as well. I want to show you guys something very interesting here, which is the current price action that we've got versus the previous halving that we had in May of 2020, and how we're actually in very similar bits of price action right now. So, you know, continued potential sideways trading ranges here that are worth discussing as well. That is something we're going to go into much more detail on in tomorrow's halving live stream. So definitely make sure you are staying tuned and aware of all of that so that you don't miss it, because that stuff is going to be super, super exciting. And if you are curious about things like the S&P 500, then I do want you guys to keep in mind that it is actually possible to trade the S&P 500 on BingX, which is linked in the description below. This is a no KYC platform, meaning they do not require your pictures of yourself or your ID in order for you to take advantage of the platform. You're going to get up to 135k in bonuses, and you can trade traditional finance in addition to crypto. You've got all the normal crypto stuff you're used to, but you can also trade the S&P 500 even to stocks like Apple and Tesla, which is super, super cool, because sometimes the crypto markets become a little bit difficult to trade or just downright boring, but traditional finance actually a lot of the time is still quite tradable, even Forex and stuff like that. So that is really cool. Of course, the best exchange in the game, no doubt, remains Bybit, and you can still get up to $30,000 in free trading capital when you start trading using my link down below. You do need to do KYC, and you do need to start trading to get these bonuses, but once you do, that cash is going to be yours to trade with. Super, super cool. Free $500 Bitcoin position with this link as well. Absolutely amazing stuff. Check them all out for all those free bonuses if you are interested. Again, a lot of people ask me, what would I do if I was starting from the beginning again? I would rinse the fuck out of these bonuses. I would get as many of them as possible. I would trade with all of that free capital, and I would try and generate as many profits as I can risk-free with money that isn't even mine, and withdraw those profits and buy a fucking house or something like that. That's probably what I would do if I was able to run it up that high. That's definitely you know, what I would be preferring there. So bringing it back to the market here, if we take a look at Bitcoin, you know, and where this thing could be going, to me, this just looks like a little bit more consolidation. There is the idea that Bitcoin could be rising back up to the top of this range, and it's not something that I would want to be completely closed off to. You know, I want to keep an open mind that Bitcoin could end up rising right back up to the $68,000 area. You know, if that does end up happening, that would definitely mean that we've kind of, you know, seen a very big correction, and we've come up to some quite key levels. So that is something I'm going to be personally keeping an eye out for. You know, we do have heavy resistance up ahead if Bitcoin does start to get there. So I don't know how easy that path is going to be. On a very zoomed out perspective on the daily, we have lost the daily EMA ribbon, but we do have phenomenal daily Ichimoku support. And this is, again, not something that I would dare ignore at all in this market. I think that this is actually quite important. So that's something I'm going to be personally keeping an eye out for while all of this develops in the market, because the sideways trading range stuff I think is actually quite you know, powerful, especially, you know, this chart that I showed you right here, which we're going to be going in much more depth about with the halving live stream tomorrow. So that is definitely something I am particularly excited about in this market here. Now, I want to take a little bit of a look at the altcoin market. We have seen some stagnation here for the Bitcoin dominance, but this is just, you know, exactly what you would expect before another move to the upside. I've been saying the same thing to you previously, and we have been 100% correct with the analysis we've been conducting on the Bitcoin dominance chart here. So I'm still pretty confident in all of that. You know, in terms of altcoins, I still think that that could definitely take place for Bitcoin in terms of seeing a further rise. And obviously, we've seen that weakness across altcoins here. Here's a beautiful Solana setup here that I was actually considering taking. It actually would have made a little bit of money, but I didn't quite get in. But it's still something that I'm considering entering, you know, just kind of shorting this purple box here, basically. if the price does end up rising a little bit higher into this range, it's just a nice little sideways, and then hopefully that kind of floor collapses, and there's going to be some more upside there. So again, super cool trade, and lots of free capital to take advantage of with any trade setups that you like in the market. So definitely worth keeping that in mind as well. We've seen Matic manage to slide below its critical 72-cent area right here on this chart. So that is something which, if it does end up continuing to drop from here, this could turn into quite a formidable area of resistance. We've already turned it into resistance, and we're seeing that theme across the rest of the altcoin market. Ethereum, for example, did gain a little bit of strength against Bitcoin just recently, but I mean, what is it actually going to do here? It's already found itself in a very weak, very nasty position. And I don't know how much better that can actually get for Ethereum in particular. If we look at Ethereum against the dollar, we've fallen below the support already, the same support that Bitcoin has at 60K. This is the 3.2 level for Ethereum, or you could even say 3,000 level for Ethereum. We are now below it and just basically consolidating before potentially coming in for another drop again in this market. So that is going to be something I will continue to keep at least one eye on in this market, because I do think we're looking at a lot of very interesting opportunities here, with altcoins basically being on the edge where a lot of people are still not super sure about which direction this thing could go in. For me, even though we are looking good here and there is a beautiful risk to reward setup on going long on Bitcoin right now, in terms of, let's say entering right around over here and playing it to the upside versus the downside where there's limited risk. Like, I totally get it, right? Like, this is the area that you'd be considering buying Bitcoin. And I'm the first person that would say that I do not get bearish at support levels. You guys know that very well, and I'm not. That's why I'm not actually going short here. But if we do start to see these levels breaking, then I think the backtest opportunities in altcoins are going to be where a lot of money could be made for the short term. You've got to be careful with that, because going short in a bull market, macro bull market, is actually very dangerous, and it's not something that I prefer doing. So it's something I'm going to play very carefully. But if I do see anything like that, which I actually really like, I will certainly be interested in trading those particular setups on this market. There's a lot of examples of this, by the way. You can take a look at this chart right here, where we've been in a diagonal trending channel pointing downward here, and we've had that 4-hour EMA resistance along the very same line as well. So there have been a lot of things kind of preventing Bitcoin from shining here. Here's the Ichimoku cloud, for example. There's just endless examples of the same kind of things taking place on this chart. But again, here's the kind of bullish trade setup that I was already describing a little bit earlier on, where the risk to reward is pretty good on these kind of setups, and it's not something I can deny. It's not something I would trade, but I do know that a lot of people who are interested in risk to reward setups, you're getting $8 for every $1 you risk on this kind of setup here. It is pretty good. Again, I've got to make this very clear. It's not the kind of setup I like. I'm much more interested in other things, like the potential for these bigger drops down to these kind of support areas. I feel like altcoins have already, moved ahead of Bitcoin in that way, and that Bitcoin is kind of poised for that drop at this stage now. Again, just basically purely looking at the lack of strength Bitcoin is displaying at these price levels compared to previously, in terms of how quickly and how ferociously Bitcoin managed to rise up. We are just not producing anything like that right now. And these are, again, we've been talking about them in the bullish perspective. There is no reason that this wouldn't apply in a bearish perspective. These things are very clearly showing me that the market isn't displaying enough strength at these particular areas, and that has to make me get a little bit concerned. Again, the only thing that is making me kind of hold myself back here is the argument for a Bitcoin halving, basically allowing Bitcoin to trade sideways. And I certainly would not rule that out, because we already know very well the concept of the halving sandwiches here for Bitcoin, where on either side of the halving, Bitcoin does absolutely nothing every single time. So, is this time going to be different? Well, if I'm saying that Bitcoin's going to crash, then yes, that would mean this time is different. And while everybody else and their grandmother is telling you Bitcoin is different this time, I'm not. I don't say bullshit like that, or at least I try my very best to avoid it. I don't actually think that an attitude like that serves you well, and it's almost always people who say stuff like that who end up losing money in the markets anyway. So, I don't really want to exhibit the same kind of characteristics that they exhibit, and if I catch myself doing that, that is something I'm going to correct, and you would probably save yourself a lot of money and hopefully even make a lot of money if you take a similar attitude as well. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the Fear and Greed Index. we've seen a really, really nice reset on the fear and greed index here. We've managed to drop down to a reading of 57. So again, if we go ahead and zoom out, we haven't seen levels this low on the fear and greed index since January, wow, of this year. So going back an entire 3 months, we haven't seen a reading this low on the fear and greed index, which to me definitely implies that we are resetting very, very well. I wish that we did this sooner, because now it looks like we still have to tumble lower anyway, but you take what you get. This is still a good sign in the market, seeing that we have managed to reset fear and greed levels quite a bit back into, we're still in greedy territories, but this is basically neutral now. So those of you that are interested in indicators like this, you're actually going to find this very bullish right now, and you might not expect Bitcoin to drop even lower. You might feel like, actually, this is enough. I don't think this is enough. I don't think this is something which should stop the market from crashing, so it's not something I'd be placing bets on, but other people might, and that's why I want to show this to you and bring this to your attention. At the same time, I want to take a quick look at the Bitcoin long and short ratio here on Binance, which has also been quite interesting. It's been majority bullish for a very long time. Today, it is even more bullish. So we've got even more longs here, 70% longs, 2.4 longs for every short account here. Absolutely huge, huge, huge ratios, and it's been overwhelmingly bullish the entire time. There is nothing coming close to neutral other than one day over here on the 26th of March. That's basically a month ago now. You know, we just have not been seeing levels on this long short ratio reset back toward neutral levels. So these things, you know, and obviously we've been bullish this entire time on the long short ratio, and we've been trending down, right? We can't ignore that either. I mean, you know, this long short ratio chart goes back all the way over here. We get a little dip around the very, very beginning of April. Let's just see what's going on with the long short ratio there. Yeah, and it's still like majority bullish. So clearly not working out for the market. All of these long accounts are not able to produce a move up for the market, and that is typically what we see. These people do tend to lose money. So again, to me, it is showing me more of the same, more of kind of what I'm expecting. If we continue to see this dump intensify and we start swinging below key levels, I think we're going to be in a lot of trouble. If we lose this local low, that's it. It's light out. It's lights out. As far as I'm concerned, I think we're going to be dropping significantly lower because it would mean that we're now setting a brand new lower low, and we're no longer in the sideways trading range either. So I was talking to you guys about how we had some headroom with this deviation. I even mentioned it at the very beginning of this video, and I've said it in nearly every video before. But if we swing below this level now, it doesn't matter to me if we don't lose this low. We're still going to be in a pretty dangerous position, I think, in this market, given the fact that we're going to be out of the range and revisiting a low. That's just very, very dangerous stuff. You don't want to do it if you're going to be maintaining an uptrend. On the other side here, the dollar has continued to display strength, S&P continuing to display weakness. Again, none of this stuff has taken us by surprise. It's all making sense, especially when we really understand the flow of capital and you know, which money controls which markets, right? It's obviously the bigger money in markets like this right here, the S&P 500, which matter more for crypto, which matter more for Bitcoin at this late mature stage that Bitcoin is at now, especially with things like the ETF proving us the exact same things as well. So there you go, ladies and gents. I hope you have enjoyed this one. You've got phenomenal bonuses linked down below with huge amounts of cash that you can trade with for free when you start trading using the links to these exchanges down below. BingX allows you to trade the S&P 500 as well, which is absolutely sick. So check them all out if you're interested in that kind of thing. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Check that bell icon. It's going to show up right after you subscribe, because we are going to be live streaming for the Bitcoin halving. Go ahead and put this in your time zone. Let's just refresh it and see if the time has changed. Yeah, the time keeps on changing, guys. So, you know, I can't schedule a live stream just yet, but as we get closer, I'm going to be able to have a better idea of when exactly to live stream for you guys on this YouTube channel. But this is at the moment looking at I believe this is what time zone is London now. Let's put in UK time zone. It's GMT +1, right? So that is UTC +1, I think. Greenwich Mean Time, and yeah, so I think, yeah, it's UTC +1. So Anyway, you guys in the UK can correct me. I don't fucking know. But yeah, I think it's looking at like 2 a.m. UK. You know, it's going to be late evening for North America, South America. Aussies are going to be up. I'm going to be up here. It's going to be like 4 or 5 a.m. here in Dubai. So whatever. I'm just going to have to deal with that. But if you guys want to tune in, then definitely make sure that you are here. All right, guys. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.